Most of the shoreline on the Moon and Coriopolis side has always been owned and operated by various commercial and industrial interests, which left little or no riverfront available for public access. While on the opposite shore in Swickley, there was a popular public park and beach which existed there until the early 1920s, when the railroad relocated their tracks to the riverside. Public access for boat launching has been available in Swickley off Chestnut Street for many years. As we all know, the interest in recreational boating and other water sports is ever increasing. In 2007, improvements were made to the Chestnut Ramp and a dock was added. A long-closed underpass at Walnut Street was reopened. A dock and an upper deck with access walkway and lighting were added. After seeing the recently completed improvements to the Swickley shoreline, the time seemed right to examine the possibilities on our own South Banks. We spoke with Peggy Standish of the Riverfront Park Committee on funding of the new Swickley facilities.
The funding, this was funded by two state grants. DCNR, Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, and the Fish and Boat Commission. And there are requirements for these two funding agencies. You have to put up private funding, whatever, a certain percentage of what your total outcome is, and other state requirements and municipal requirements, but primarily it has to be owned by a municipality, and this is owned by Swickley Borough, and it's maintained by Swickley Borough and a bunch of volunteers. Yes, this all has to go through your municipality, your board. That's been our experience, and in talking with other people, it's their experience also. It has to be public land, publicly owned land. You have to make that very clear when you apply for a grant, and it goes back to public use, as in the municipality. So they own and maintain all of this park. So in order to get public funds, it has to be maintained and owned by a municipality.
If Moon Township were to build the same public river access facilities, we could expect usage similar to that on a typical summer day in Swickley. We began by walking the riverfront in the historic Stoops Ferry area. In 1968, the state of Pennsylvania acquired and demolished all buildings in the Stoops Ferry complex, including the old house and railroad station, in order to widen Route 51 from 2 lanes to 4. The only elements that remain from earlier times are the access way under the railroad tracks and the remnants of the northbound Riverside train platform. The access way, which carries Narrows Run to the river, is certainly large enough to permit an SUV or a truck with a boat trailer to go through, but with a steep bank, little maneuvering space, and no parking, vehicle access would be very difficult. Following the demolition of the old RB&W bolt plant adjacent to the Ambulance Authority building, the property was acquired by the Moon Municipal Authority for future expansion of their facilities. After walking the riverbank in this area, it seems to be the best possible location for a public river access. Representatives of the authority have said their expansion would utilize new portions of the property on the bridge side where their present structure is located, and would probably not use much more of the shoreline than is presently used. An access road could be placed at the edge of the property next to the remaining industrial building, utilizing the present railroad crossing. A small grove of trees on the riverbank in this area could be a good location for a few picnic tables and park benches, with a small parking area next to it. There is an existing short concrete ramp nearby, which could be expanded and extended to create a boat launching ramp. All of this could be separated from the rest of the property by a fence to prohibit entry to municipal authority facilities. Certainly, elaborate and expensive projects such as those in Swickley would not be necessary here. Now is the time to develop this area. A large section of our riverfront is open, unused, and the property is already in the hands of a Moon Township agency.
Since our research began, the Moon supervisors recently approved the application for preliminary funding for a public river access facility. Also, the Beaver County group, the Ohio River Trail Council, has done extensive planning for a riverside trail to extend from Monaca to the Montour Trailhead at Groveton. They have contacted all municipalities in the area seeking to connect the new trail to other riverside development planning. This could easily be done in Moon, since the trail would pass very near our proposed river access. Please let our supervisors know of your support for our riverfront project and stay tuned for further updates on this subject.